Super exciting. We are heading into the land and we are going to do the behind the seeds tour. Yay! We love the land. We love living with the land. And now we get to go behind the curtain. The land at Epcot will always have a very special place in my heart, and this is actually one of the most affordable behind-the-scenes tours that you can have at Disney. It is really cool if you have any interest in plants or nature or engineering marvels or really anything that has to do with Disney and innovation. This is a really cool tour that you're going to check in at the bottom level of the Land Pavilion, right in between Soarin' and Livin' with the Land, those two rides. And when you check in, you might be lucky and be able to see some of their little plants that they have for sale, which come from the labs that they are growing on site.
Quieter. To get there, we'd have to go against the exiting Soarin' crowd. So follow my hand, stick to the right-hand side. I will get you there safe and sound. All right? Are we ready? Let's go. Awesome, you all made it. Good job. All right, everyone, welcome to Behind the Seeds. Are we all excited? Yes. Their IPM lab. IPM stands for Integrated Pest Management. And these are the different ways that we make sure pests don't get out of control in our greenhouses. Sustainability is really important when it comes to us here at the land. So you're going to see a lot of sustainable practices. IPM tends to be a very sustainable form of pest control. When we're talking biological pest control, it does usually involve a pest and then some sort of beneficial insect that helps get rid of the pests. Between the fly and the wasp, can anybody tell me which of those two is going to be our beneficial? Actually, the wasp. Here's what the wasp looks like. It's also very small. It also can lay about 200 eggs in a day. When they lay their eggs, though, they're actually using their feet to sense where the leaf miner larvae are. They'll find them and lay their eggs inside the larvae of the leaf miner fly. Weird, right? Once they do that, that larvae is still going to do all the damage it would normally do to the leaf. There's not really a way to stop that once it starts, but our end goal is stopping the population, not the individual, and that's what this will end up doing. Eventually what happens is that larva has to pupate. Pupating is when the bug goes from one life stage to the next, similar to how a caterpillar goes to a chrysalis. When leaf miners pupate, they fall out of the leaves. So these towers on the left side of the room are where we're collecting all the larvae as they fall into those little cups. Once that happens, that larva turns into a pupa. That's when the wasp egg will hatch, go through its life cycle. It eats the inside of the pupa. So instead of hatching out a new fly, a new wasp hatches out instead. And that's IPM, like I said, tends to be a very sustainable form of pest control. Comparing that to traditional pest control, when you're spraying a field, you're solving a couple problems that traditional pest control has. When you spray a field, A, you're not always going to hit every pest you're trying to get rid of. And B, if you overspray your field, now you're going to lead to what's called runoff, which is damaging to other environments. Here in Florida, it greatly affects our manatee population. By using IPM, you're solving those things because you're directly targeting exactly which pest you're trying to get rid of. And on top of that, you're also going a step-by-step process. You're not doing too much too fast, so runoff is eliminated. Before we do that, I'm going to give us all what's called a whisper unit. This is a listening device that'll help you hear no matter where you are in the greenhouses. Right now, they're using environmental growth chambers that are growing different plants, and they're trying to see how they may fare during space travel. Good. The other thing we're going to hear are those Mickey's mini gardens. You might have seen for sale at our desk. We make these through a process called tissue culturing. Has anybody here ever taken a little piece of a plant? It can actually be a very sustainable form of growing plants. When you tissue culture, you use less time, less space, and fewer resources. The downside, though, is every plant from the same parent is going to be a genetic clone of that parent plant. So if a disease comes through, that can actually knock out your entire crop. What a lot of places do is use a combination of both tissue culturing as well as traditional growing methods. So no matter what happens, there's always a little bit of produce along the way. Pretty cool, right? That would be so cool. But unfortunately, we only produce around 30,000 pounds of produce each year. I'm going to have you make a nice big portion just don't go past that line. Does anybody have a guess what percent of Disney World's demand for produce for 8,000 pounds is? 1%? It actually means less than 1%. So as much as we don't provide produce to every restaurant here at Disney World, it's just something that we can do. However, if any of you have ever eaten at Sunshine Seasons, Garden Grill, Coral Reef, Flying Fish, Tiffin's, or some of the pretzel booths around here at Epcot, you may have gotten a little bit of land produce. It was probably great. Come on in. I'm going to have you lead us to the shelf and pause there for me, okay? Now this greenhouse we're coming into is called our production greenhouse. And it's the name because we're showing off different systems that are pretty widely used in production of crops. We use a technique here called vertical growing, which means growing up instead of just growing out to help us with that. Really good example is actually behind us here. This is one of our newer systems. It's called the Ferris wheel. It is one. It just goes one rotation every 6 hours. So it's just super duper slow. We're talking about tomatoes. Anybody here ever grown tomatoes before? They're wild and wacky, right? Tomatoes do whatever they want. So here we've actually trained our tomatoes to grow in a specific way. As the main vine grows up, we'll actually prune any part of the tomato vine growing outwards, so it all ends up growing upwards instead. We then will wrap a string around the outside of the tomato plant, move those strings around in kind of a racetrack pattern, which leans the vines over and lowers them down to one level, giving this the name the lean and lower system. Inside, we may make a Mickey-shaped cucumber. Here at the land, we are famous for Mickey-shaped fruit, most notably our pumpkins. If you go on the ride today, there is a Mickey-shaped fruit on the left side of the ride through this greenhouse. You can check it out. We make those by using a mold. So what we'll do is take a baby cucumber, put it inside this mold. As it gets bigger, it fills the mold out. We'll slice it up, and that's how you get Mickey cucumber salad. It tastes better than regular salad. Now here, we're making things Mickey-shaped because I don't know if you've all noticed, Disney World is obsessed with Mickey-shaped things. But using a mold for your fruit is actually a way that we're going to probably start seeing fruit in the future because it has some advantages. Anybody here remember the cute watermelons that went viral a few years ago? So those are also made using a mold. And when you grow a cube-shaped fruit and you pack it in a box, there is now no extra room in the box for anything else. So per square foot of truck space, you are now able to transport more produce with fewer trips and for less money. So it saves a lot. That also is going to save carbon emissions, so it's actually better for our environment as well. Lots of good advantages. The next greenhouse we're going into is the first one that has the sand in it. What is the rule about the sand? It is just like Cusco, no touchy, all right? Once you get inside. Now in this greenhouse that we're coming into, it's called our temperate greenhouse. We're going to start seeing that we're going to let us plants things like corn, sorghum, weeds. I had one for the first time last week. There's a really big difference between edible and tasty. Casa banana is edible. It tastes kind of like a squash, and the cantaloupe had a very slimy baby. So interesting. It is not often eaten often, even though you can. But what you do with it is a lot of places in South America will actually put it in their house sliced up as an air freshener. It smells really, really good. If you look at the far right hand side of the plant, there's only 2 parent vines that feed this whole trellis. There's only 2 plants in here. Those 2 plants were seeded, so planted as seeds, on November 29th of 2022. So this plant is over a year old and is still producing viable flowers. It's an East Asian melon. It's used a lot in China, so actually a lot of our watermelons are going to the China Pavilion, which is really exciting. So winter melon, it does not have a lot of flavor in it, but it's really good at absorbing other flavors, so it adds a lot of body to things, kind of like how watermelon does. Normally, a winter melon is going to grow to about size of a large watermelon, so 10 pounds. That one in the ground, 35 pounds of this harvested, which is nowhere near the record.
If you like this video, please subscribe. And don't forget to tell your friends. Bye!